we are live. Hello, everybody. We're here, and I have the honor of getting to speak to. Are you kidding me? That was off screen the entire time. And getting to interview and speak to the wonderful and amazing PL Stuart, author of the Drowned Kingdom Saga.
Thank you so much, Alex. It is my privilege, my honor to be here. I love what you bring to BookTube. I'm a big fan of your channel. I love your energy. I couldn't replicate it, but and it's not just youthful energy. I think that's just the kind of dynamic, enthused person you are. You're so smart. I love the analysis you bring in. Hey, I'm not trying to suck up, so don't. Well, maybe I am. Maybe I am. But guess what I'm reading right now?
Oh, you're on that ship.
My first hop is actually my first hop. I did do a bit of a backwards thing. I started with live ships because I had it on my shelf for so long, like years. Got a sale, got the trilogy sale, and I said, "Well, I'm just not gonna." I understood I could read this technically without reading the first trilogy, but I'm like, yeah, I'll get started. But I loved the first book, and now I'm on to this one. So
hearing that makes my day. Before I do anything, I just want to go ahead and say, hey, Jake, it's good to see you here, man.
Wonderful, Jake. Nerdo Rising. What a great dude. Amazing Jet. Thanks so much,
right?
bro.
He is awesome.
Oh, yeah, he's the best. One of the best booktubers out there. One of the best human beings. He's just fabulous.
Completely agree. You nailed it. But no, so honestly, like on its own, I will tell people who don't like Farseer, I'll just tell them to go jump into Live Ship Traders. Or some people who are like, I'm not interested in Farseer, I tell them to read Live Ship Traders just because it's that amazing to me. It is my favorite trilogy of all time. I think I told you this.
Yeah.
But on its own, it's so impactful to me and so wonderful. I'm so happy you enjoyed book one.
I loved it, and I realized, I had, like I said, I had the whole trilogy on my shelf for ages, but I realized I thank you, bro. Thanks, Jake. I actually lent the last book out, so I have to get that back so I can finish the trilogy. But I got lots. I have my TBR, like everybody else is just
exactly right.
So I can just go on to the next. Probably to grab some more GGK when I'm done this.
Ooh.
Because I'm still hankering for some GGK. Just been reading a lot of him recently. It's just been what an experience. So yeah.
I know, right? What do you think is going to be your next GGK book?
Written on the Dark. I have it on my shelf. Sorry, I should clarify that I'm packing them and moving. So it's in my box. It's sitting up there. But I probably won't. Before I move this week, I probably won't finish this. So probably the next book I pick up as soon as I unpack will be Written on the Dark. So
so that sounds fun. Is that like, how recent is that one? Because I don't remember that one.
Very recent. I think it's the most recent. Either the most recent or second most recent thing that he's written. I haven't read all his books. I think I have 6 more to read. I know you love some Serantine Mosaic.
Oh yes, I loved Serantine.
And I loved your video about how it critiques AI. I thought that was fabulously so well done, Alex.
So much.
And I think maybe it's a hot take. I know a lot of people aren't as much fans of that, but I think Serantine Mosaic is some of his best work, if not his best work. It's my favorite.
I completely agree with you. That one was just impeccable. I mean, I love A Song for Arbonne. I've read A Song for Arbonne and Sailing in the Serantine books. And as much as I love Arbonne, I think Serantium's taken the cake so far.
Yeah. I have to say, I love Tigana. I think it was a kind of tug of war between Tigana, Song for Arbonne, and I still love Fiona of Our Tapestry, his original trilogy, and I still feel like, and because his overall universe, which is basically like quasi Earth, he marries everything together, that you'll see Fiona of Our mentioned through many of his books, right? In this alternate Earth, and I just, every time I see that, I just get all juiced because I read his and that's his first trilogy. I said this. I was on a deep dive into that on Philip's channel with Philip Chase, actually the books was on my channel, but it's just criminal that his first trilogy written all those years ago is still like sublime. Like to write a first few books like that at that level, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been stuck between, because I think I have a copy of it right here. I'm not sure if I do, but I think I did get the copy that has the Janny Warts covers.
Yeah.
Because I saw those and I was like, oh, I have to get it. Because I mean, you and I both know how beautiful her covers are. They're just impeccable. So I saw, well, actually, I guess it's her and her husband who made those.
Downmates, yeah. I have that copy. I have the omnibus, and it hurt like it's Janny Wirtz, as is my favorite author and just one of my favorite humans, and I still get chills when I read her writing. I still, I mean, it's a blessing, it's a curse. And it's not an envious thing. You go, oh my gosh, I'll never be able to write like this, but that's okay. I can just bask in the glory of reading her stuff. I can just sit there and ruminate about how incredible it is. It truly transports me she's one of those authors where one of the few authors where I am just totally lost when I read her stuff. The rest of the world doesn't exist. It's just me and the book.
Like honestly, I don't think there's any other way to experience them. Like I remember sitting down to read them, and I would try to think of like two other things while reading them. Like if I tried to read them on a busy day, it wasn't possible. Because you sit down and you're like, no, you set aside the time for this, because that's just like the kind of grip it has on you. And honestly, I thought I saw some of her writing in here. Like when I read A Drowned Kingdom, I could see in some ways, just, I don't know how to explain it, but like the way the sentences felt structured, they reminded me a lot of Jenny.
I mean, just to be mentioned in the same sentence as Jenny is a huge honor. Thank you for that. I will never be, if I lived a million lifetimes, I wouldn't be that caliber of writer. But clearly now, I didn't read her before I started writing the Drowned Kingdom Saga, but I read her soon after. And clearly now she's definitely an influence on my writing. Absolutely. And I put that even on my Goodreads page. She is now one of the writers that going forward she's had such a tremendous impact on me. And as a person too, I'm honored to call her a friend, a dear friend. And it's something that, her reading her has changed my life and my writing experience and how I perceive the whole art of writing. The things that the wisdom I've gained from her and all of our conversations and, text and messages and I'm just in awe of her, right? She's a living legend. And unfortunately, I think you're aware, and you've done so much. I have to give you credit for how ardently you've supported her, and you're part of that vanguard that has pushed bringing her work into greater awareness, because she's so criminally underappreciated. And you've been such a staunch stalwart. Really have to commend you for that. Just says a lot about the kind of person you are. That
Thank you so much.
Really, really help promote and push her work, and and she's just so deserving, right? So, really, you deserve a lot of credit for that.
Thank you so much. Because honestly, to me, it's just like, how can I not? She is just such an impeccable writer. Hold up. Really? You think so?
Yes, you did. I saw every day for how many days was it on Twitter? You did it
like 2 months
in a row. Like that is, I mean, the dedication. Like I said, it's people like you, Alex, that make we as authors. You are what make this endeavor worthwhile. When you have those bad days, I think of people like you. That you just go, okay, you know what I mean? That just it's worth it, right? Because there's people like you who have such appreciation for the art and the struggle and the glory and everything of writing and what it means. and supporting authors. So yeah, so thank you for that. But I know Jenny is so grateful.
I mean, I cannot be more grateful to Jenny for so many reasons. Just because of, I mean, number one, how many? I think she gave me Fugitive Prince, Grand Conspiracy, Peril's Gate, and Traitor's Knot, all in one. And actually, I can't remember if she gave me Ships of Marior, which is that's it. You know what? Hold on. I can't let that slide. She didn't give me Ships of Marior, but she gave me everything else pretty much. And I'm so grateful for that. And then alongside the fact that her work, like even you said it too, her work is life-changing.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of the way I think about books, the way I thought about your book, the way I thought about all books after reading Wars of Light and Shadow just changed completely. And watching her interviews, I remember I would just think about what she's saying and how she writes. And I'd go, how can I apply that into how I act as a reader to your books? I mean, when I think of when I read a book, and I think your book is one of the big ones. I don't know if I said it because I did write a review on it. I think you remember. I like to think of like the overarching themes, and I think how are they doing this just in the way of plot structure, in the structure of the story. And I think Othrun, you do such a great job with that slight build. I don't know if that makes sense. The slight changes, the slight moments that change us as people. I think you are one of the best to do it. I think I have seen a couple times where I think because I think a lot of times authors like to make big moments the crux of what changes people. But I think you do such an amazing job of the slow burn. I think I think Jenny, I think probably Rockio. There's Rockio? No. I think Hobb does it too. I think I can think of a couple others if I really think about it. But genuinely, and I mean that, one of the best ways of like character growth. How about that? It was just impeccably done, in my opinion.
Well, the praise is just, I mean, again, I'm just totally blown away by the praise. Thank you so much, Alex. I think that one of my favorite authors, and I'm sure one of yours, George R. R. Martin, I'm going to have to paraphrase because I don't remember exactly. It's something about, it's all about those small conversations in the bad back rooms, essentially, that makes fantasy just something that is so compelling. And when the moments I really remember from most of my favorite fantasy series, yes, I remember the battles, but I remember them to a point. But it's those conversations, it's those character moments, because I am a character-driven reader and writer, and I know you are too. It's those character moments, it's those iconic scenes, and it translates to TV and film and everything else, right? What do you remember about your favorite movie characters, TV characters? It's those conversations. It's those, George R. R. Martin. It's the speech where Jamie, when he's in the bath with Brienne, talks about why he did what he did, right? It's the conversations between Littlefinger and Varys, right? Chaos is a ladder. It's the Cersei Littlefinger, power is power. That moment. It's I can give you a million of them, right? Even it's those moments that we truly remember. Yeah, I remember the battles and they were great, but after a while they kind of blur, I believe. But
they do for me.
Political intrigue is amazing, but it's those character moments that really grip and that resonate and stay with you long term, I think.
Completely agree. And there was one conversation that I still remember very vividly in my mind in Drowned Kingdom. And if for nothing else, I would tell people to read it for that conversation. And it's the one about God. I don't know if you know what the different faces of God.
Okay. So this is where Othran is talking to essentially his bishop, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he is without spoiling anything, his bishop presents some surprising a surprising point of view that takes Othran aback a bit. And those are the moments that I love to write. I adore writing, and Othran, of course, because the main character is a flawed, bigoted, prejudiced, misogynistic, homophobic, everything. A product of his upbringing, a product of his culture. Those are, I think most people who read A Drowned Kingdom, if they stick with the series, there are people who haven't bounced off Othran. And I've talked about this on lives. I totally respect why people bounce off the series with the first book because they just can't tolerate Othran. And I've said it before that, and that's just my opinion. I feel that not just, subjectively, but objectively, there's far worse characters in fantasy that, are people that are lauded and praised. However, and I always put it back, like I always put it back on myself as well. Well, maybe I didn't write him well enough that he would be someone you want to stick to. But for some people, he is. For some people, I've done a good enough job. But I always say that so much of this book is about his journey and his evolution. And hopefully I've done enough to make you invest in that by the time you get deeper into the series, it becomes something that you find hard to do without. That's what keeps you really going, right? There's other features I'd like to think that are compelling, hopefully, about my series, but he's the beating heart of it, and his journey and his transition, if there's going to be one, is something that I think hopefully keeps the reader interested and intrigued.
They definitely did me, because I think, I don't know if you remember this, but the very beginning of the book, I was starting to bounce off. It wasn't, honestly, I don't even think it was anything of the writing. It was just, it felt something about the way the story was being told. I was like, I kind of wanted it to be a little bit more character centric. And then I remember the moment where I went, oh, here we are. And then just everything from then on was like, okay, here we go. And I just couldn't stop reading after that. I think it was, well, I'm not going to say when, because I think you can guess when.
Well, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I think, the structure of all my books are very unique, and A Drowned Kingdom is no different.
Oh, it was
and they're all their own beast. And A Drowned Kingdom is structured for a reason. Those reasons don't even become apparent until much further down in the series. The foreshadowing and things that will happen, all I can say is I hope that if you continue to read the series and you get to book 7, that some of my structural choices in book 1 will pay dividends for you as a reader. That's all I can say.
Oh, I'm sure they will. I have this thing where I see a lot of people, and maybe it's just a me thing, where they start a big book series and they're like, why isn't this question answered? Why isn't that question answered? And I'm like, patience. Look, I of all people, the guy who's read like 5 different 10 book long series, I gotta learn a little patience. Otherwise, I'm gonna be bashed over the head and thrown over a rock. Because, I mean, I get it. There are things that you're saving for that moment, and I think it becomes better because you're saving it. You're holding it to the chest, and you're making me ask that question for a little longer. If you just said, oh, here's the answer, then you're kind of taking away the suspense, the fun of it, the thrill of guessing, oh, what's going to happen here? What's going to happen there? And I definitely will be continuing the series, by the way. Let me be very clear. I'm
honored.
I think that patience is something that we as fantasy readers need. because like our genre is like controlled by the big series. And so I try to spot the foreshadowing ahead of time. Now, do I always get it? Almost
never. You probably get more than you think.
Yeah, maybe, because there are moments, and I'll probably look back on this book and think, oh, I pointed that moment out. I pointed it out. I thought about it, and then I just glossed over it. You idiot! Because there are times where I'll read a book, and I think I've gotten better at it over the years. I'll see something, and I'll go, huh, that's interesting. Why didn't he do this? Why didn't he do that? Or why is that happening? Okay, I guess that makes sense, and I'll just gloss over it, and then it comes back, and it's like, I got you.
You are, one thing I really admire, respect about you is that for someone so young, in terms of fantasy, you're so well read. And when I say well read, again, that's subjective, because, but what I mean by that is that at your age, you've read and you have a great comprehension and appreciation for a lot of those big, iconic pantheon type series, and you've read a lot of things in between those, and you've done it in a relatively short space of time. And I really do. I am blown away by how well read you are in the genre of fantasy. It really impresses me. But I think, having read those big series, that there is that point where, especially in the series where you've heard, hey, this is good, trust the author, enjoy the process, there'll be payoffs. When you hear those things from people you trust or you have similar tastes with, I think that's something that one should take heed of, right? So if you, after you read, I can't recommend this. I'm very honored to have people that actually want to talk about my books on YouTube. I mean, I just think that's such an amazing privilege that anyone would do that about my work. I mean, who am I, right? But there's 2 series of deep dives. One is on my channel, and I'm privileged, so man, to have Janie Wirtz, as one of the people involved in that. My colleague from Page Chewing, that you do the Page Chewing review series made between the pages. PhD Dr. Leila Ghoshi of Lively Magazine, another brilliant mind. Some of those are the people involved in that. So after every book comes out, we do a deep dive, spoiler less and spoiler filled. And I think you might find it interesting, some of the insights and the things that might lend to your reading experience. The second deep dive, the same, like another parallel one, it's on my channel, and there we have Alicia from Burdian Books, Epic from Epic Talas, a great booktuber, and Jen from who got that book. So we get into it just like we do the other deep dive, and I highly encourage you, if you have the time. I know you're busy, but watching those after reading each book, watching the one that corresponds with the book that you finished, I think it really lends something to the insights.
Oh, if there are, like, because I didn't have any idea that there were. I will, though, definitely, because I mean, there are a couple series where I like to do that, and of course, I did it for Wars of Light and Shadow when it came to Philip Chase's Johanna and, oh my god, Dr. Fireballs. I'm
AP Canada
Dragon.
AP Canada, yeah.
Yes, AP Cat. Oh, there we go. I would always watch them, and then I'd be like, of course, you found that thing. I couldn't find that in a million years. And I just think it's so interesting, because I don't really think it's because of like, oh, I'm too stupid. No, I think it's really just because they have the experience. They've seen the things. They know what to look out for.
That's big brain energy, man. Taylor and I did a wonderful special broadcast with Jenny, Philip, Dr. John Morrow, I think it was Steve Nixon, and we just entitled it Big Brain Energy, because the collective mind power, AP Canada, the collective mind power and education and life experience in that broadcast was just all I did was just sit back and try not to say anything stupid. Just listen. Just absorb all the huge brain power that was spewing out this knowledge. Just I was just sitting there wide-eyed and just like, yep, right. So I know what you're saying, and if you do, I know you've already watched those deep dives on Angie the Bookaholics channel. We were also doing a deep dive with Jenny and part of all of them. So myself, Nico book reviews, I believe Angie the Bookaholics, she was hosting. I hosted the last one on the final book, Song of Mysteries. I think Blaze was a part of it. Yeah, so yeah, we also have a deep dive series there. And on Page Chewing, under the Page Chewing umbrella, Jared the Fantasy Thinker and a few other people they have a really good, I think they break down almost chapter by chapter.
Oh.
All the books. So there's all of these deep dives out there for, all kinds of books. But I'm very humbled that mine has recently especially got some traction. It's just again, it's just so, what a privilege. And now, of course, there's the Drowned Kings led by the awesome Zachary Shea with our friend Jake Nerdle Rising, Philip Chase, David from Four Corners of the Page, and Nikhil from Shelf Esteem, a bunch of great booktubers. They're doing a deep dive into my series now as well. They just started. I think they should be putting up the Lord and King one soon, because that's where they are.
Lord and King is book 3, right?
Yeah, that's book 3, the one right there with the crown up top. So
okay. No, yeah, I didn't know they had one. I guess I must have seen it at some point and saved it into my watch later and said, okay, once I finish the book, I'm going to come back. I finished the book, just had to ruminate on it. Because what I like to do is I like to have like a solid week or two before I watch anything about a book, because I want to formulate my own thoughts before I start letting other people's thoughts come into my brain. Because once somebody else's thought gets in there, that's it. There have been so many times where a teacher, actually, sorry, before, real quickly, I want to say hello, Garfield. The brilliant, genuinely, I want to talk about this.
We're bowing.
Every time there's a book that he's read that I read, he gives me just the most wonderful and amazing just tidbits that I don't have the background to pick up on. Like when he told me about sailing to Sarantium and Lord of Emperors, so many things rooted in history there from the Byzantiums. And then when I read Way of Idan, he had so much stuff.
Big brain energy. Mac is, again, one of those. I'm not sure his background now. I'm not sure if he has the formal, the doctorate. He probably does. I wouldn't be surprised at all. But
I would not be surprised at all. Honestly, I've been under the assumption that he is.
So intelligent, so insightful. Like you, and I extend the invitation in public here. I do hope to have you on my channel on Six Elementals.
Oh, thank you so much. I would
love to have Mac as well, because again, just smart people that I can learn from, and that I think people would love listening to and learning from as well, in terms of the audience. So
I'm sure that if I had the opportunity to speak to Max Garfield, I would be like enthralled. Like, he seems like one of those people, like AP Canavan, like Janny Wirtz. Like when I hear those people speak, it's like I'm in a trance. I'm like, just you, Alex, stop talking, listen, because they're about to say something that you need to hear.
Yeah, I feel the same. And I also feel that the more, I can't wait to see that, Jake. I'm really looking forward to that. I feel that that is one of the huge benefits of being part of the book community, is that sharing of knowledge. Again, it's like an education. It's like getting another degree. By you could watch BookTube. You could lose yourself. Too much social media can be a bad thing. But this corner of social media is a great place for entertainment and education as well. And the bookish community, we all know that unfortunately literacy is declining. And I don't think I don't think ultimately there's anything that is negative. There are things that happen in terms of negativity in the space sometimes, but there's little you could point to that is negative about talking about books, right? So I just think it's great to be part of that.
I completely agree with you. And like getting to have, I mean, you're contributing to literacy, aren't you? Having more books out there is always a good thing, and always having new books for different people to read. I actually remember when, like in my early high school years, I would say I vividly remember going, actually most of school, I would say, this book, it doesn't interest me. I don't want to talk about it. So there would always be a book that they'd assign, and I'd be like, this one might interest me. This one doesn't. And then they're like, talk about it. I'm saying, but I don't want to talk about it.
It's funny how oh yeah, and Janny is such a wealth of actually Jake, Dinner Love Rising. She also came on Jake's channel and did a whole show about hidden gems. It seems like she's oh yes, and that's right. Sorry, Mac. Thank you. She's also done one with the Mintons from Talking Story. I have to finish watching that. I watched some of it. Yeah. Wow.
I've been waiting to watch that one because I saw it came out earlier today, and I said, okay, hold on. I need to grab like a pen and paper, because any book she says, she's probably going to sell me on it in like 5 seconds, and I'll go, okay, there we go. Let's just add that to the TBR.
Yep. And she is such, again, just a treasure trove of knowledge. I mean, people forget, and I've said this so many times now, and I'm sure you have as well, and I'm sure you're quite aware that she's a contemporary of all the iconic, big fantasy authors, maybe Robin Hobbs and George R. R. Martin. She came out in that era, and again, it is incomprehensible that she doesn't have the following that they do. I think, again, I said thanks to people like you, thanks to people like Jake, all of these incredible booktubers and supporters that are pushing and promoting her work. I think her acclaim is starting to climb to the level where it is deserved, where she should be acknowledged as one of the greatest living fantasy authors ever. But I have to say that it's something that I think we all aspire to. We all aspire to be great writers. No one aspires to be writers that people.
You know what? No, I want to write the worst book you've ever read, and I think I can do it. I think honestly, that's probably like to write a bad book. There's an art to it, isn't there?
Yeah, and speaking of great writers and great books, I just saw the incredible LL Stevens a trim period pop up. What's up, LL? I know that I'm just going to at some point just buy the entire rest of her series. Sordanian is, and I think you said it, Alex, that it's one of the best fantasy debuts. Forget about venue of how you publish, traditionally published or self-published or anything in between, hybrid, whatever. Sordanian is one of the best fantasy debuts I've ever read, ever.
Fully agree.
Full stop.
I was like, to write at that level for the first book you release.
It wasn't LL Stevens is she was traditionally published before she went small press with Sordania. Check out my interview on a 6 Elementals with Elle. She's a fascinating person. She is an OG. She's got that experience. She's been there, done that. So her writing, the level of craft that she has, we can see how elevated it is. But she's been honing that for a while. But again, regardless of that, for first book in a series, when I say debut, I don't mean debut, and I apologize to clarify. I don't mean debut book period. I mean debut, like in a first book in a fantasy series, like, wow, like that was and the first book I read from her, right? I
No,
haven't
yeah.
read any of her old
Yeah.
stuff. Just
I mean,
just absolutely incredible. Absolutely.
and she does this thing where, like, I mean, this thing, but it just got better every book, and you'll see it too if you continue. But
oh, I will. There's no. As long as I'm breathing, as long as I'm breathing, I'll be continuing.
it got better and better and better, and I think to myself, stop. You're not allowed to do that. Like, it's so impressive. I see it with, honestly, a lot of indie authors, and I'm sure I'll see it with you. This way of, like, every book, not only do you guys improve, but it just, hold up. You reading Sordanian?
Yeah, if you've been watching Jake's, Jake is must watch YouTube for me now. So I try and keep up on every time he puts out a video. And I think it was Jenny probably that first plugged LL to him, and I definitely chimed in all the. I kept commenting, "You got it! It's incredible!" And now I think he's become a sim for Sedan for.
I didn't
LL.
know he was reading Sordanian. Okay, Jake, when I'm done with this, we're gonna have a talk because I want to talk to you about Sordanian.
Yeah, it is absolutely brilliant. And
No.
I just, and that's where it comes back to that whole, I think, trusting. Listen, we could talk about you all day, man. You're amazing. So, but I think when it comes to writers like LL, again, it's just a trust the process thing. If you have quibbles and qualms with the first book, well, guess what? Writers, hopefully, like we talked about writing books, and no one wants to write the worst book ever, but hopefully we mature, we get better with every book. That's the goal. Like, I want someone who finishes the Drowned Kingdom Saga to go, wow, it's a step up. That's great to hear, buddy. I love to hear that, Jake. Every book is at least it achieves the same nominal level, if not a step up. You're climbing a ladder to, and I know that's a hard standard to achieve. But as long as you aim for the heavens, you might fall a bit short. And yeah. Oh,
I've actually had this behind me the entire time, but then I realized you can't see that.
Well, thank you, my friend. Yeah, those Broken Binding special editions, they're fabulous. I'm so grateful to Broken Binding for allowing me, a no-name indie author to be part of their glorious enterprise. They are just at the cutting edge now of everything publishing. They are, to me, they are the new Orbit. They're the new Tor. They're the new, and much more, right?
Yeah.
So, because they're flexible and they're responsive and they are cutting edge. They're the avant-garde of the best aspects of publishing, period. So shout out to Broken Binding and Matt and Sean and everybody there, because they're just fabulous.
Oh, okay. That's high praise.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you. That's high praise. Thank you.
That gives me some. All right. That makes me excited.
Well, and again, it's all about your cup of tea, though, too, right? I mean, not every book is you're not going to like every book of my series. You're not going to like every aspect of every book of my series. But hopefully the totality, the sum of it, more than the parts, when you're finished, then you'll go, okay, that was worth reading, right? That was worth investing my hard-earned time and money to read amongst all the thousands and millions of books you could be reading, to read something like the Drowned Kingdom Saga. I do believe that the depth is there. I do believe that the intricacy is there. I'd like to think that the character work is there. The political intrigue, certainly, the lore and world building, and eventually, and this was something I aspired to. I've talked about this with Jake on Jake's channel. The if you like the action, the battle scenes, that those are all there. The things you typically look for in epic fantasy. I'd like to think that, and the compelling themes, which is a big reason of why I wrote the books, the themes. So, hopefully, There's enough there for you to love, Alex. Thank you.
Uh, and I'm sure there will be, because I mean, typically, if I love a first book, and to the extent that I loved a Drowned Kingdom, especially with some of those moments towards the end that just, I mean, they're still in my mind. Months after reading it, I still think about them. And once I love a book one that much, it doesn't matter. I mean, at that point, it's like, okay, we're sticking to the end. I can't back off now. That was that good. He can write to that quality, and so I'm sure you can match it or do better. And I'm confident in your ability to do that.
Well, thank you. And again, it's up to the reader to decide. Jake's group, and I haven't seen the Lord and King discussion yet. The common consensus seems to be that they believe that, and people like Jenny Wirtz, again, I'm so grateful she's commented that. Other people I trust that have continued with the series, that I'm again very grateful for, humbled by their feedback. A lot of them have commented that they feel that about the series, that the books have progressively gotten better on a plane, So I mean, if that's the general consensus, and again, they're not going to be for everyone, and people will bounce off book one or bounce off book two, or but at the same time, I am grateful for the small but dedicated audience I have that enjoys my series, and I'm very, again, it is really gratifying that these really smart people, these really discerning readers, incredible booktubers and authors, that they actually genuinely like what I write, and that's that's all the reward I need, right? Besides the readers that aren't necessarily booktubers or authors or academics, that I am grateful for them. Thank you, again, for taking a chance on my work. And like I said, I hope it continues to be worth your time. And God willing, I'm just getting started. I need to stick the landing with my final book, which is Sure Steel, which is going to be released in early 2027, God willing. And then I have prequel trilogies to write.
Oh,
two prequel trilogies, which will be centered around each different eras prior to Othrin's time, focusing on the stories of heroes, people that he idolized, that you will find out that aren't the way he envisioned them to be. So because of course history is not a perfect thing. It's not always accurate. And when I go back and I take you back into time, through the mist of time, you'll see that Othrin's current perspective is perhaps not accurate in terms of how the way they're portrayed in the history books. So and then I will write a successive, hopefully a 7-book series to kind of wrap up the nominal Drowned Kingdom universe story. But then I have novellas I'd like to write.
So you're staying in this world for the long haul.
For the rest of my writing career, my writing life, yes. And I've talked about this too in different lives, that I totally respect authors that they start in this universe, and they want to move on to other things, and they want to write something totally different. But for me, I've spent all this time creating this universe, and all the little mini wikis I do, and the family trees, and the appendices, and all these things that I feel I have this rich, vibrant world that I could spend 10 lifetimes exploring and not exhaust the material. So that's what I want to continue doing.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna love to see it. I have every intention of trying to make sure I stick around for the entire thing. I mean, especially if how I think it's gonna go, if it goes how I think it will go for me, I'm confident I'll be here for the long haul. As long as you're making books, I will be here to sit down and read them.
Well, thank you, sir. And again, God willing, I have my full-time job that pays the bills, and I plan to retire from that in the next few years. And then my plan is to devote myself to mostly spending time with my lovely wife and my kids and grandkids and writing. those are, my main focuses, right? So, and I've always said, I was talking to Jake about this on his channel. If you like, man, if your desire is to just write one book, that's fabulous. And that is a huge accomplishment, just an enormous accomplishment that can't be understated. For me, of course, that's still very important, writing the next book. But yeah, I want to look back. Hopefully, God willing, I live to have a long life like my mother. Love you, Mom. If you ever watch this, she's 91. That I can look back if I'm, sitting there in a rocking chair. If again, God willing, I live to that age, and it's like, yeah, I can look on the shelf and see, 20, 30, 40 PL Stuart books. That my grandkids and my great grandkids, and long after I'm gone, they can go, yeah, my relative wrote that. It's like that.
It's good stuff, and he wrote it, all of it.
Yeah, that's the goal, man. So but we'll see. Again, I am still taking it one book at a time, and now look at the other way. You have to enjoy the process. You have to enjoy the journey. You have to enjoy the slogs of editing and seeing that, oh man, I could have sworn I fixed that word and I've looked at it 50 times and it's the wrong tense, or like, all you have to enjoy the, oh man, I got a negative review, and you have to, it's the experience, right? You have to take the highs and the lows, and just it's something that, like anything else, it's never going to be perfect, but that doesn't mean it can't be joyous, and I find it to be something joyous.
Okay, before I say anything else, and I will.
Oh,
I'm taking that as a yes, Max Garfield. Yeah. I'm holding you to that.
Yeah, be careful what you wish for, man.
I will hold you to that.
Careful what you wish for. And I saw, and I think I saw earlier a comment that, because if you're not aware out there, Philip Chase and the Awesome Nerd Level Writer are doing the GGGKR. They're going through all of Guy Gavriel's works. They're having different guests. I was honored to be with them for exploring the Fiannavar tapestry. We're joined for the final book by the awesome Dr. Erin Keating, another academic who I'll actually be interviewing myself on Six Elementals later on in the year. She's fabulous as well. But oh wow, they're gonna have Mac for Under Heaven. Oh, that's gonna be amazing. A lot of brilliant minds on that chat, boy.
I have to make sure to catch up just so I can watch that.
Yeah, I haven't read Under Heaven yet, but that's definitely on the TBR. Hopefully this year I'll get to that as well.
But yes, I was gonna say, I feel like one of the biggest, like, I think you were talking about enjoying the process. I think that enjoying the process, especially for, like, even in reading, like, as a reader, I feel like that's such an important thing. I mean, for me, once you get me hooked on a character, there are very few things you can do to let me off the horse. I mean, I have read all of One Piece. I am reading The Wandering Inn. I don't know. Do you know how long The Wandering Inn is?
I think it's basically I don't want to say it's not forever, but there's been dozens of iterations, I guess, or volumes. It just keeps going on. Like,
yeah, so it's one story. So it's not like different stories. It is one continuous story, overarching story. And it is at, you know what, you want to guess how long in terms of word count it is?
I wouldn't even hazard a guess.
15 million.
Wow.
And
wow.
And it's not like, it's not like slop that's put on there on the page. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't spend the time reading it. It's genuinely, in my opinion, Hob level character writing.
Wow.
That releases long chapters every week.
Wow.
And I love it. It's getting physical copies later this year. Sorry to plug it in my interview with you, but
no.
It's this kind of mix of truly epic fantasy with this slice of life, and just I ended up adoring all the characters so much that like I don't know if it can ever let go of me anymore. And it's stories like that once I'm hooked on a character, I'll sit with them for however long you want me to sit there. That's the thing. I love Othrun in the way that you love a child that is being a pain. I love Othrun like one of my little siblings who, when they're having a bad day, make my life miserable.
Yeah, he can be very frustrating. He can be very confounding. He can be very, but he's very human. And I think we all know people like Othran. I think we all see bits of Othran in ourselves. I think it's we as human beings, we are made to judge, and we're made, unfortunately, to be hypocritical, and we never totally see ourselves as we really truly are, I think. But we often critique others. And one of the things I wanted to convey in my novel was that it's easy to think, oh, if I was in that situation, I would never do that. I would do this. But then I think, again, intelligent, discerning readers reading Othran and reading the context in which he is dealing with some of these situations, and with the background that you're given, and with what you know about him and his position, I think in hindsight, some of my most satisfying emails and from readers stuff has been like, you know what? I was rereading this part as like that Othran happened to Othran, and he made this decision, and first like, oh my god, and then I was like, but I kind of get what he did it, and or saying, you know what? If I was in a situation, I might have done that too, but I never thought I would until I actually read it and saw you put him in that predicament. So one of the themes I try to convey is that leadership in any form isn't easy, and being someone analogous to an ancient type king, there are complexities that are absolutely absolutely, you're put in situations that are almost impossible, and will always be contradictory to one value or another, or one goal or another, and you make the best choice you believe at the time. But also that as human beings by nature, we can be contrary, petty, and it doesn't matter. We expect the best out of our leaders, and we expect leaders to be flawless and impartial and objective and wise and all these things, but they're human. They can never be that 1,000%, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It's impossible. They will make decisions that are arbitrary. They'll make decisions that don't make sense or are foolish. They'll make decisions that are based on, like I said, pettiness or personal bias. Or I just don't like that other ruler, and that's why I'm not. Even as better for my people, I don't like them, so I'm not going to make that alliance. That's real life, right?
Yeah.
So
I remember going mad during one scene where I feel like you had it in your head where it's like, oh, it should be better. He says this is going to be a really good deal for our people if we go over there. No, I don't want to go there. I hate those people. And then he's like, no, we're going here.
Yeah.
It's like, what? I remember I read that scene and I was like, I audibly groaned and I said, Othron, don't do this.
But that is realistic, and that's what I hopefully am portraying. I'm portraying a realistic character who comes from a very privileged, cosseted background, was raised in privilege, was at the upper echelon of society, who believed they were at the upper echelon of all societies. Is a position of power, and yet neutered in some ways, and someone who now carrying the responsibility and weight of a people on his shoulders can only make the decisions that he is capable of making. He's incapable of making certain decisions. That doesn't mean he always makes the wrong decision. That doesn't mean he doesn't have some intelligence or forethought, or he doesn't try to do the right thing, based on his moral compass and his values. But he will do things that will upset and or frustrate the reader, because they'll go, oh man, that's dumb, or I would never do that, or that's immoral, or but you're looking at it from a certain lens, right? So but I think hopefully what the work encourages you to do is look at it from author's lens, especially because you're in that first person perspective and you're always in his head. So you understand why he makes those decisions. You have an intimate level of knowledge as to what went into making those decisions, especially after I give you all the backstory and his upbringing and what happened to him, his family. You get why he's thinking that way, why he's doing some of those things. You may disagree with it, but hopefully I've made it you've been able to comprehend what the rationale that went into the decision making.
Honestly, I think you did an absolutely impeccable job with with making me understand his motivations, with making me understand his thought processes. I vividly remember going through the first part of the book and going, okay, so this makes sense, that makes sense, and that makes sense because of that. And then afterwards, I feel like you did the legwork so well that every decision he made afterwards, I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense for his character. It may make me want to throw a rock at him, but yes, I understand.
Yeah, and that's the goal. That is the goal, to have the character make decisions that are consistent with his character. And frankly, because he is an inconsistent character, he is someone who can be prone to hubris, prone to his pride he get in the way, hubris get in the way. He tries to be calmer and rational, and a lot of times he is, but sometimes he's prone to. And let's not forget, even though this is an ancient type context where lifespans are generally shorter, that you're pretty well middle aged by the time you're 40. That doesn't discount the fact that a late teen, early 20-ish year old leader will still have a certain lack of maturity that will impact their decision making as well. That doesn't mean he's not mature for his years. It just means that he doesn't have the benefit of the wisdom of someone who's far older, has had far more experience in certain things, right? Like a Glathan, right? Mm-hmm. So, and hopefully speaking of people like Glathan, hopefully Authorin's issues are counterbalanced with more steady characters, less mercurial characters like the Glathans, who are more, and the Thoreaus who are more steady Eddie, right? In terms of how they conduct themselves.
Okay, real quickly, I'm a bit behind on the comments. Under Heaven can be read as a standalone.
Yeah, I think all of GDK's works can be, except for Serantine Mosaic and the Fiona of our Tapestry. I think they're all essentially designed to be connected but standalone. From what I've read so far.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too. I just for me, it's like I have in my mind, I do like there's this proper order to things. If I want to get like the most out of it that I can, so like I think I saw somebody say, if you read A Brightness Long Ago before Serantine Mosaic, you're going to spoil yourself on Serantine Mosaic. So I'm like, okay, so I'm not going to read Brightness Long Ago, but now I'm done with Serantine Mosaic. It's either Brightness Long Ago or Lions of Al-Rasan. I think I have Lions of Al-Rasan somewhere here, but it's one of those two.
I think spoiling it's by degrees. I think that you can read, I remember when I put up that I was reading Life's Returns, like, oh my gosh, you didn't read, Assassin's Apprentice is first, like, no, but I think I'll be okay. You know what I mean? Like, mm-hmm. I think, I read, here's a really one I read out of order. I read The Last King of Ostenard series. I didn't finish it before I read Memory, Sword, and Thorn. So I went back, I stopped, because I had the books on sale, so I just read it. I really want to.
That's fair.
I read it.
Can I say something real quickly?
Absolutely.
To everybody who's watching this and likes to read on Kindle, all of Tad Williams' works are on sale for, I think, $15 on ebook on Humble Bundle. I'll put that in the description afterwards if you think that's all right. If that's all right with you.
Oh, awesome. Iconic author. What a wonderful gentleman. Had the privilege of interviewing him Hopefully I will again in the future. That was one of my, just again, your favorite author's favorite author, and just so warm and humble and kind, and just it was just a great interview. Tanner and I got to interview him on Page Chewing. That's on my, if you look on my channel, Drowned Kingdom Saga, and my playlist, you can see that interview as well. Probably one of the most popular ones there. Sure. But again, so many authors, iconic authors, look to Tad Williams as the GRMs and all. They look to Tad Williams as their inspiration. So,
that's what made me so interested in him. And I could see, I haven't actually read much of Gurm. I've only read A Game of Thrones. So I want to get back to it, because I think I think at the time I was just too young and it didn't click with me. But now, I think 4 years later, it was actually, I started, I think it was my very first adult fantasy novel was A Game of Thrones.
Wow.
And so I read that and I said, okay, it's good. And I kind of put it down. But I think it's one of those stories that, like, if I come back to it, I'm going to love it to pieces. So I've been like, I want to finish Malazan first. And then I'm going to jump into...
You want to tackle another beast. Yeah. Well, Malazan is completed. And Malazan was a journey for me that really another defining moment in my reading and or writing journey, because Steven Erikson, another masterclass, author, some of the themes he explores there, especially things like grief and compassion and looking at the other side, colonialism, trauma, some of the things he explores, he does it better than very few science fiction fantasy authors I've read. So kudos to Mr. Erikson. And he is just another brilliant big brain, and he has that anthropological background, academically, and he's just, just brilliant. Just a series that is now in my top 10.
I already have that gut feeling because I'm reading Dead House Gates right now, and I'm like, oh God, what is this book going to be like? I've been building it up in my head for so long, and it's like, it's nothing that I expected. And before I say anything, because I've ignored them for too long. Hello, Mark.
Hey, what's
and hello, Noel.
Wow, how are you?
And okay,
you're never late, Noel. You're always on time, even if it's the replay.
Plus, I'm the one who's late. I've also, okay, so did I already put that? Okay, no, I already put that one. This one. While A Song for Arbonne is probably my personal favorite, Under Heaven is objectively the best story by GGK, in my opinion. Really?
Wow. And that, I mean, you're talking about Les Miserables and War and Peace. That's high praise, Mac.
Speaking of that, I just want to say more schools should teach either Lord of the Rings or To Ride Hell's Chasm. I will take To Ride Hell's Chasm. I'll take that one. But, like, you could do it.
To Ride Hell's Chasm is my favorite standalone book of all time. To Ride Hell's Chasm. It feels like it was written for me. I so identify with the main character. I think the courage, Jenny is a courageous person in general, but I think the courage it took to write that book, to write that character, unfunctioning the way she wrote wrote him and explored the themes surrounding, I just think it was just incredible. And I can't sing the praises of Jenny enough, but that book, wow. Yeah.
That book was impeccable. And I feel like I read it at a point where I just didn't do it enough service, because I think I was in the middle of a reading slump and I chose to read it and I powered through it and I love it. I still love it. And it had a great impact on me, but I look back on it now and I think I need to read that again, because I don't think I got what I should. I don't think I got enough out of it.
It's a great segue. Jenny has a large backlist, but before you get into her magnum opus, before you get into Wars of Light and Shadow, I think To Rise Out Chasm is the best example of her elevated writing. Like That's where she dials it all the way up to like Wars of Light Shadow level. But it's self-contained. It's one book. The amount of world building she accomplishes in one book is astounding. The character work she does in one book is astounding. It feels like a trilogy, but it's compressed into one. I think that if you want to really, you're kind of debating, you're a bit intimidated by what you've heard about Wars of Light and Shadow because the prose, you've heard that it's dense or whatever you've heard that's deterring you from doing it. Try Hell's Chasm first, and if you like that, I think you're safe with
I agree
Wars
with
of Light and Shadow.
That actually, it reminds me when she said that she had written an entire nautical fantasy standalone novel, but publishers weren't picking it up. I remember thinking to myself, I just want it. Okay. I know that book is going to be the best thing in the world. When it comes out, I'm going to drop everything and that's what I'm going to do. Can you give it to me now? Publishers, pick it up. What are you doing? What are you doing?
All I can say is I've had the privilege of getting a boo at that, and it is just incredible. It is just incredible, and I haven't gotten through all of Jenny's works, so I still need to read This Way Lies Camelot. That's a short story collection, and I still need to read a bunch of her short stories. But I think I've read everything else except for what she co-wrote with Raymond Feist. I always forget the name of that series.
Oh yeah, the
international best-selling series,
Daughter of the Empire trilogy.
Daughter of the Empire, yes, thank you. So I still need to read that.
I need to read these two. I got the entire trilogy on. I think I thrifted them all, of course, but because I wanted her covers, okay. But that's another one I want to read. I've been pushing it off because it's like, what if I run out of Jenny Wirth stuff?
yeah. It's funny you say that. I've always felt that way. Like, wow, when I got to the point where I'd read, and by the way, tomorrow night on my channel, the amazing Jared the Fantasy Thinker, another fabulous booktuber and author, we're going to be diving into Jenny's Cycle of Fire trilogy on my channel. But yeah, now that I'm getting through her backlist, I'm realizing, I'm going to run out of Jenny Wirth to read soon. And that's, kind of a bummer, right? Because it's so amazing, but she's going to keep writing. So, it is going to be, there's so much to love. I mean, obviously getting through Wars, Light and Shadow alone is quite the task because it is one of those big consequential series. But there's still a lot more of her backlist to love. If you start off with Wars, Light and Shadow, she's got tons of other great stuff that you can sink your teeth into. So.
Absolutely. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up to all the. As a big Blackadder fan.
Oh, okay. Yes, Blackadder. I hope you find authoring entertaining, if nothing else, Matt. Entertaining, if nothing else.
Is Blackadder a book or a TV show?
No, TV show.
TV show. All right.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it was based on a novel. Matt can correct me there if I'm wrong. I think authoring is, I'll full disclosure. When I wrote the Drowned Kingdom Saga, there's 3 things I really want to accomplish. I want to write a character that would be remembered, whether fondly or not. Right? I want to write a memorable character. I want to write a fantasy series that was as immersive as the stuff I had read, especially when I was younger, the Tolkiens and the Lloyd Alexanders and the Stefan Ardances and all of these iconic worlds. So I wanted to make a world that people remember. And finally, I want to write compelling themes that meant something to me and that hopefully people would give people reason to think about, to ponder, right? Not necessarily provide answers, but just provoke the conversation, the thought process, right? About things like colonialism and misogyny and racism and homophobia and leadership and all these many things that I explore. And I'm not the first one exploring them. I wasn't the first. I won't be the last. But just hopefully in a way that was thought-provoking and interesting, and just, something that would incite discussion and discourse. And I just, that was my aspiration. So hopefully, I succeed.
And I think you did. I think you did a great job at that, in my opinion.
Well, you read book one, so as you go along, I think you're going to see that there's a lot more of that to come, hopefully. I think book one is certainly just a jumping off point. It's just the beginning. It's a 7-book series. You have a lot of experience with longer series. I feel like, but of course, I plan to write many more books in this universe. So even authoring story, self-contained, is far from the end, right? There's a lot more to explore. Thematically, there's a lot more to explore. Character-wise, but this is the series where people will be introduced to my universe, and hopefully will be encouraged to read the next things that I write. So,
all right, I'm gonna try and take a couple more here, if it's all right with you. I know I'm holding you up.
This is the best part of doing these lives, to have the audience participation. This is what makes this type of long form content amazing. The wonderful people who decide to tune in and comment.
I've also only read the first book in A Song of Ice and Fire. I want to continue soon, but I think I have to reread it now. It's been like 2 to 3 years. Exactly. I'm the exact same, Noel. I think it's been 4 years since I read A Game of Thrones, and all of it's gone in 1 year and out the other. So now it's like, if I want to go back, honestly, it's probably like exactly what happened with Gardens of the Moon. I read it a couple years back. Now I got to read it again because I don't remember anything. But I'm sure it's going to be an even greater experience, richer.
I'm doing more and more of now, and because I have the time, I'm binge reading more and more. I did that with Words Light Shadow near the end. I'd read the first couple books. Okay, you read other books, you come back to it, you read the books, and eventually I was like, I don't want to break immersion, and I just went straight through. I can't remember at what point. Maybe it was Storm Fortress onward. I can't remember, but I just went straight through. Did that with Malazan. I think I got to Reaper's Gale, maybe, and then I just went bananas and just read each of the books back to back succession. I do not regret it at all, because it was one of the. I don't think it's hard to sustain for an entire series, I think, but I think if you get to that point where it's a 10-book series and you've read, you read the first one a year ago, then a couple months later you read some of the books, you read the second one. You did it again. You repeated that pattern until, say, the 4th, 5th book, and you're like, you know what? You get to the point where you're really deep in the series. You know what? Give it a shot. I think do that straight read, and I found that it really enhanced my reading experience. I picked up so much more from doing that. It's not for everybody, because but for me, it really worked.
That's what I used to do. But I get frightened, because what I did with the Stormlight Archive was I read 1, 2, 3, 4 back to back to back to back. Boom! I was burnt out. I got so burnt out, and maybe it's just like I got to try and manage it a little bit better, and like 2 books at a time if I get hooked at the end. But after that, I was like, I think I got a little bit frightened of reading books back to back to back, because I typically I'll read a book and then I'll put something else in there just to like space things out. I think what started that was what was happening for me was when Realm of the Elderlings was getting the reprint here in America. I was following the reprint. So once the Farseer trilogy got printed, I read that. That was the first time I'd ever read it, and I loved it. And I thought, I gotta go to the next books. And I had to wait for the Live Ship Traders. And then I read the first 2 books back to back, and I remember I don't even think I was burnt out. I think I needed some time to sit on it.
Yep.
And So I did something else. I read, I know exactly what I read. I read the first 3 Sun Eater books, and then I said to myself, it's time to go back. And I just poured my heart and soul into the 3rd book and loved it to bits. And then I remember when it came to the 3rd trilogy, the Tawny Man trilogy, I tried to split them up like specifically.
Yeah.
Whereas before it was like, I'm just gonna wait for now. This time I said, okay, let me try reading Fool's Errand, which is the first book, then Golden Fool, then Fool's Fate, all at like different times. So I kind of said, I'm going to read this one this month, the next one next month, and then the one after that the month after. And I think it worked. And so I kind of just stuck to that kind of rhythm until a reading slump took me over and said, haha, bye-bye. Woo!
Well, you have to read the way you want. By the way, I was tickled pink and so pleased that in your last video you're talking about Sordani. You're like, I took PL Stuart's advice and I just read what I wanted. And that's what it comes down to. If the mood, like, I'm not really a mood reader. I'm very much more a TBR person, but I don't stick religiously to my TBR. I'm a pretty structured person, but I take, and especially with people, I'm honored when people send me an arc and maybe perhaps they're looking to get a review or something like that, like someone I know, or but I largely stick to a TBR, and I largely stick to TBR patterns, and I find that really works for me because I'm that kind of like very, not always say rigid, but pretty structured. I can be rigid, but pretty structured person. But yeah, it's all about, it has to work for you. There's no point in doing it if it's joyless, right?
I do.
There's no point in reading if you're not enjoying it. You're like, you have this other book that you see all those memes, like, you have to look, you're looking over there at that book. Like, you have to love the book in front of you and want to read that book to continue, right? The next book is always around the corner, right? You're never going to run out of books in your lifetime, but no matter how long you live, but and the fact of the matter is, it's amazing, yet it's sometimes depressing that you'll never read all the books you really want to read to be 100 years old.
I've had that thought. I was like,
you make those choices, and I think I am glad that I'm so glad of the choices that I've made. I'm so glad I've managed to finish Malazan and finish Wars of Light and Shadow, finish Lord of the Rings, finish so many great series that, and hopefully I have a lot more to come. I can't wait to read, Triumvirate to conclusion, right? And it's the same way I'm hoping people start to feel that way about my series, is when they, again, like I said, once they've finished it and once I finish it, they will look back and go, okay, this is worth a reread someday, right? I missed all that stuff. Oh, that thing that was right in front of me, hiding in plain sight, which I like to do. I didn't see that, and now I do. And like Janny's series, for example, is,
oh my
like
God,
the last, and all the series are tailor made for that. That's the type of series that I want to write.
Oh, I completely agree. Like, I can only imagine. There have been times I've been seeing some people here and there read Curse of the Mistwraith, and I think, don't go reread it right now. This is no. Come on, you have so many other things to read. If you reread that, you're gonna be trapped. You're gonna reread the entire thing, and you're nuts. It's like, I would if I sat down to reread Curse of the Mistwraith, I would sit there. I would probably just sit here at my desk, and I don't typically read at a desk, by the way. I would probably sit here and I'd probably just take notes. I'd probably be looking. That is found. You find that in chapter 7 of book 10.
Yeah.
It would be terrible.
But I think, it's great to be spontaneous, and it's great to not have any goals at all and be willing to take on new things that come up. But one thing I love is when I do, because I'm kind of one of those goal-oriented people, is when I get to finish those series, especially those big series that I set out to read. It is that huge sense of accomplishment. And yes, burn up and come with that. I remember after I finished Malazan, I was like, whoo, because remember I said I binge read the last few books. I was like, wow, what a hangover. Same with Wars of Light and Shadow. Wow, what a hangover. But the hangover faded. And I've never really been in a reading slump per se. and I'm so happy I did it. And now I have a couple big ones that I really want to get through. Realm of the Elderlings is one of them. The Second Apocalypse, R. Scott Bakker. I've only read the first book. Oh my gosh, I need to get back. I need to read and finish. I think I have all the books now. I need to read and finish that series. I really do. Like I said, Realm of the Elderlings. There's so many series. I want to get Triumvirate. I want to get through that. There's so many series out there that I can't name them all, but that I really want to get to in the next year or two that are just like, they're in my mind, right? They're in my thoughts. So
I have this goal at the moment, and that is to kill my goals. and I know that sounds a little silly, but I've wanted to read all the big series, the Malazan, the Wars of Light and Shadow, the Realm of the Elderlings, those series, and that's why I'm like, I don't want to rush through them. I refuse to rush through them. I'm very stingy about that. There used to be a time where, and I it's like that time where you're looking back at your very young self and you're like, why'd you do that? That was terrible. And I think to myself, you skipped chapters that for characters you didn't like. Yeah. I already hear you two inside your head, like, you did that, really? Yeah, I did it. When there was a character I didn't like, because I would hook onto a character like Stormlight Archive. If I latched on to Kaladin, well, goodbye, Shallan. I'm Kaladin.
Shallan was probably one of my favorite characters.
Really, I think eventually Shallan became, like, I think in the course of the book, I forced myself, because I was loving Kaladin so much and the world so much at the time, that I forced myself to sit through Shallan, and I think she ended up becoming my favorite, at least in the first 2 books. And of course, I don't do that anymore. I'm not that bad anymore. Okay, but it is that idea of, I feel like I can be a little bit more spontaneous with, and of course, somebody put me on Michelle West.
Yes. I really want to get to her as well.
She is amazing, absolutely brilliant, like Hob level character writer.
Yeah.
And of course, when another long series added to my list.
Yeah, that's another one on my list too. And it's just like, again, when do you get to all these books? And I'm writing my own series, right? So
yeah, exactly.
My lovely wife, spending time with her. We both have busy careers still before we retire, with our kids and grandkids and everything else. I need to finish my own series and continue my book. So, there's a balance, right? Between being a blogger, between doing YouTube and all the things I do before I go blog and Grimdark Magazine and, my own stuff. Yeah, there's still, but that's what being part of the community is, I think, is all about. It's not just about your stuff or what you're doing. It's about the community, and it's about being part of it and supporting it. And so those are also activities that are really important to me and dear to me. But yes, right now, my main focus has to be, of course, writing Sure Steel and getting that final book in the series out in 2027. So
completely agree. I think I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna do 2 or 3 more comments and then I'll wrap it up. Is that good with you?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Because, all right. Oh, you definitely will see the inspiration from memories. Yeah. I definitely saw that too. That, well, I know of the Frostwalkers. I could see it immediately. I actually read the first chapter or 2 of A Clash of Kings. I saw the comment. I see it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And Noah says, speaking of books in school, for my schools in Florida, I never had to read a single full-length book, only bits and pieces of work.
Wow.
I feel like, honestly, that would work better for schools if you're not reading what you want to read. It's my opinion.
I think, of course, when I was in elementary school and high school a long time ago. Of course, university a long time ago. But yeah, we had a robust reading list. Of course, I was an English major, and like very young, I had books from my mom hooked me on books in my family, hooked me on books, and I think reading literacy is one of the most important things. I just think that perhaps I know times have changed, and attention spans are shorter, but I would really, really love to see young people read more. And at this point, it doesn't matter what. Of course, I have fondness and appreciation. I believe there's a lot to be gained from books that were written, prior to the last 10 or 15 years, and going all the way back to ancient times, classics. There's a whole wealth of reading to do out there, and I just think that I hope that reading is a practice that doesn't fade into obscurity as we move forward as a society. That
I hope so too. And honestly, I worry because like a lot of my friends, I'll talk to them and I'll think to myself, basically none of them read. I have one friend who reads, another friend who I recently got to read a book, and I was actually so proud of him because he's the last person I would ever guess would read a book. And but he was reading, and I was like, man, I'm so proud of you. And I told it to his face, dude, I'm so proud of you reading a book. I mean, it's special. It's an experience. And to see some of my friends reading is just a very happy thing to me. Of course, as the guy with this behind me, I'm like, oh, when they read a book, it doesn't matter to me what, especially when it's something I've read, and he was reading something I'd already read. I was like, let's go.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
Oh, wait.
The wonderful Shad. How's it going, brother? Wonderful person in the community, great supporter of authors and all things bookish. So Shad's amazing. Had the privilege of meeting him in person at a Comic-Con here in Canada in London. And he's just a wonderful human. So always great to see you, Shad. You're never late, like I said, even if it's on the replay. But
exactly.
Thanks for coming out. English. Yeah.
You are a. There we go. We've accomplished an achievement, Noel. We've squeezed it out of him.
Yeah. Medieval literature, English, minor in history. That was that's what I did in university. So I love old books from hundreds of years ago. Some of them, or stories from hundreds of years ago, even if they weren't books. Like I am a fan of the classics.
You've just reminded me that I have Beowulf on my shelf and I want to read it badly.
You could. Foundational works just mean so much to me, and they are my first and foremost inspiration. Before I read the Jenny Wirtz and the Mark Lawrences and the Bernard Cornwells and the Stephen Ericksons and the John Gwynns and Miles Christian Camerons and Guy Gabriel Kays, I read Le Morte d'Arthur and Paradise Lost and the Odyssey and the Aeneid, and
Odyssey's so good.
Those are the books that. Oh, thank you, Chad. Yep, working hard on it. God willing, early spring, as I tend to publish in spring. Yep, hopefully early spring 2027. So that's the goal.
All right, I'm gonna release you from the from the council. I apologize for holding you for so long.
Katachi for hours is so great. Thank you so much for giving of your time, Alex, and just thank you for being willing to have me on your channel. I hope you will do me the favor in the future and call mine. We can learn a bit more about you.
I would absolutely love to. I mean, it'd be an honor to me because exactly. I mean,
thank you.
I completely agree with you, Noel. Just the more I've talked to him over the course of this stream, the more I've talked to you. I shouldn't be talking to you, talking about you in the third person. You're not here, apparently. The more I talk to you, the more I'm like, just what an awesome guy he is. It's just
right back on you.
And right back on you, it's something to me that at least this is like a weird interview kind of thing because it's more like a chat. And to me, I feel like I got more out of this than I would have if I had like a list of questions. And like getting to know you as a person, getting to talk to you about the books that we love, like the Wars of Light and Shadow, getting to talk to you about Jenny and getting to talk to you about so many different things and so many different subjects. I felt like I got to know you a little more, and I just everything I was hearing, every time I would speak to you and hear you speak, I'm like, what an awesome guy. What a smart and wonderful person.
Right back to you, my friend.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I'd much rather talk about, find out about you, talk about your love of books, talk about books that we both love, or learn from you about, get some great books off of you from my TBR. And I'd much rather do that than talk about my books or you're reading my series. You're going to have things to say about it. So, I'd much rather spend the time talking about other great authors and other books that we love and just life. So, I mean, I'm extremely gratified with the conversation and getting to know you better, and we'll do it again for sure.
Thank you, Noel. And
thank you, Noel.
Absolutely, PL. We will. And I cannot wait. So you tell me whenever works good for you, and we'll try and make it work. All right.
Sure.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, PL, so much for coming on. It was an absolute delight. Doing this is just one of my favorite things to do. And just participating in the booktube community, getting to talk to authors, getting to talk to fellow booktubers, all of it. I love it so much. So thank you so much. And to everyone else, I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day.
Yes.
And we'll see you next time.